Hey there YouTube, this is Tessa Fella for Wife, bringing you the last video that I will make under this name. Now for those of you who have been following me long enough, you know that I've got some phases that I'm going to do before I get to my final name change. I'm not just going to flat out do it, as some people have done. However, I've decided that the next step, I'm just going to skip over, so there won't be any YouTuber formerly known as Tessa Fella for Wife. I'm going to just go to the next step, which is a shot of whiskey, formerly known as Tessa Fella for Wife, and then eventually just a shot of whiskey. Now, this video I got from a guy named James Alsup, who is a fellow former Washington State University student. However, I think he's done there and got a degree, whereas I'm done there for now just because I didn't really care for my experience. He made a response video of his own about 2 months ago to something that was posted a couple days before he got to it by a YouTube channel called Concerned Student. Now, at the time that I am making this recording, Concerned Student only has 9 subscribers, but the video itself has had over 13,000 views, 450 likes, and over 1,600 dislikes. That's about a 21.7% in favor of, or another way to look at it, a 1 like to 3.6 dislikes ratio. It's pretty pathetic. Now, this video is from Gonzaga University, which is located in Spokane, the largest city in the red side of Washington. Now, some whiny Evergreen State College type students made a video of dumb questions, which are almost as bad as the ones that are on BuzzFeed, that are directed towards the bigwigs of the university. This shitstorm makes me glad that the college failed to win the men's basketball title against North Carolina. Go Tar Heels! Oh, yeah, sorry Tessa, I forgot you're a Cox fan. Anyways, let's go ahead and go with these dumb questions, which, by the way, they're supposed to all start off with, where were you when? But as you're going to see, there's a couple of exceptions here and there. But anyways, let's just get on with it.
Where were you when me and a fellow student of color were called the N-word just 2 blocks off campus?
Where were
They were most likely on campus, dealing with on-campus matters. You might as well as ask where the directors from Spokane Community College were at.
Where were you when the white professor decided that we can use the N-word in class because of the context that we were using it in?
They were most likely dealing with real stuff, just like before. Now, not knowing details makes this tough, but I'm betting that this was a history or literature class, both of which such a decision makes sense. A lack of context should not warrant censorship for the sake of weak feelings.
Where were you when a white student said it out loud twice before the only black student in the class asked him to please stop?
Well, once again, context prevents anyone from giving a genuine answer to this. Is this the same class or a different one altogether? Was the student saying it to be a bigot, or were they reading To Kill a Mockingbird? Without these details, how is anyone supposed to realistically respond?
Where were you when the same person called me Oriental and told me my lunch smelled weird?
They were probably dealing with real issues. Broken record, broken record. Assuming that you saw this as a real incident, did you even bother reporting it? Oriental is a way that some people differentiate East Asians from Middle Easterns, especially in places like Europe. While it may be PC to call folks like you Asian, that's not a law nor a rule. That being said, maybe your lunch emitted an odor that said student found displeasing. So what? Europeans and white Americans have several foods that smell funky, especially to those that aren't familiar with them. Familiarity breeds tolerance. Sometimes.
Where were you when the white kid sitting next to me in class asked to touch my nappy hair?
Again, they were most likely dealing with real issues. How did you respond? What did he do next? In his defense, your hair does look gross. I don't care if somebody boorishly thinks my observation is racist or not. Facts are facts, and your hair looks like it needs to be washed, cut, and styled. Now, maybe you're in the middle of changing your do, which I can relate to that if that's the case. If you told him no, and he did it anyway, You have something to report, so actually report it. If any other possible scenario happened, which is most likely he respected your rejection or you gave him permission, then you have nothing to bitch about. If the worst thing did happen and you did nothing about it, then it's all on you and you'd be a moron.
Where were you when I sat across the table from the chief editor of the Gonzaga Bulletin after he likened black people in Baltimore to terrorists? Oh, that's right. You were across the table from me, comforting him, telling me and my other comrades who had come to share our stories and our sentiments to, quote, not intimidate him, to not gang up on him.
Well, there's your answer right there. They were telling you to stop being a bully. I'm willing to bet that what you're claiming the editor said is really just a typical libtard twisting of what was actually said, which is something that is true. The Baltimore riots were committed primarily by black youths over a false racist claim about a black man who died in police custody. Even if what they were claiming was 100% true, it doesn't excuse what they did to their city. Even Ray Lewis felt that way, that the violence was a bad thing and it needed to stop. And just so that everyone is up to speed on this, Lewis got a lot of shit from leftists for being a murderous hypocrite. Now, of course, the black mayor supported the destruction, as well as the then black attorney general and the then black president, which makes the rioters into terrorists with as much political support imaginable. The fact that most of them were black and were supported by black people in power is not the fault of the editor that you're vilifying. You are wrong. Get over yourself.
Where were you when I shared my story on campus? Only to have a white faculty member run her fingers through my hair as if she never heard a word I said.
While more details would be nice, I do have enough to work with for this video. They were doing their jobs dealing with matters that they knew about. Did you file a report? Assuming that what you said is completely spot on, what she did was illegal, technically. Race is irrelevant. File a legitimate report instead of provide words for a bigoted video.
Where were you when I introduced myself as Alan and I was asked if I wasn't sure it was Alan?
Why do you think that this is an issue for them to deal with? My God, grow up.
Oh no, some have a hard time with names that are foreign to them.
People have done that to me, and I have a biblical given name and a Scottish surname. It happens. I'm sure you'd butcher my name too.
Where were you when I was walking to an office on campus and the woman working there was talking about her racist grandpa and how funny the jokes are that he makes? Why is my race a joke?
For the sake of argument, let's say that Grandpa is actually racist. Based on what you just said, nothing would suggest that his jokes relate to race. He could be as racist as they come, but still tell some great jokes. Besides, sometimes racism is a fun tool for jokes. Are you telling me that you've never laughed at Chris Rock, Kevin Hart, Wanda Sykes, Richard Pryor, Jamie Foxx, Will Smith, Monique, Chris Tucker, Cat Williams, Martin Lawrence, Patrice O'Neal, or Tracy Morgan? They've all told racist jokes, some making fun of whites, some making fun of their fellow blacks. And they've oftentimes been funny. My favorite anti-black one by any comedian has come from Cat Williams.
I don't give a fuck what you say, white people are friendly. You can call them motherfuckers up at 3 o'clock in the morning with the wrong number and they won't even be mad at you. They just, hello? No, I'm sorry, no Shaquita here. Well, what number did you dial? No, it's a 9, not a 7. We'll try it. If it doesn't work, call me back. We'll figure this thing out.
So unless the woman in question was telling racist jokes herself at work, you have nothing to complain about.
My question is, where were you when I was entering my first week of freshman year and I was in my dorm room and I heard the phrase in the hallway, "That's so gay"? Where were you when I felt my skin crawl and when I felt isolated and not knowing who I could talk to?
They're not your parents for you to feed off their nipples, kid. You need to grow up more than the guy who did the name thing. Do you know what context the comment was made? Who made it? Is that person gay themselves? Did you attempt to find someone to talk to? It shouldn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there are counselors to talk to about your fragile feelings being hurt by someone else's words that have nothing to do with you. Personally, I think that if you're going to whine about something as trivial as this, then you're not ready for college and certainly not ready for the real world.
Where were you when
The teacher reluctantly talked about diversity, and the students decided that it was a waste of their time and therefore they should just pull up their laptops and not pay attention?
Well, that was a weird cut to someone else mid-question. For starters, open your mouth when you talk. I don't understand statuese. I had to replay this about a dozen times before I knew what you were saying. As for your non-points, not every instructor is a brainwashing liberal, and not every student wants to be hammered by the same garbage over and over again. Besides, how do you know what they're doing on their laptops? How do you know that they aren't taking notes or researching specific talking points? Like almost every point in this video thus far, you have nothing to complain about, so grow up and open your fucking mouth.
Where were you when my hard work was attributed to the color of my skin and called luck?
Why can't you libtards do a better job explaining what you're talking about? How can these people give you anything resembling an answer if you won't give them a question that doesn't sound made up? Without context, how is anyone to know whether or not this happened? Or if it didn't have something to do with melanin and or luck? Maybe it did. Millennial liberals seem to think that type of shit about whites, no matter how successful they are, all the time. Why should you be treated any better?
Where were you when the middle-aged white lady working at Starbucks in Hemmington told me I was spelling my name wrong?
Who cares, other than you? It's not important. You're going to be throwing that cup away anyway, so it doesn't matter. Spelling is irrelevant. All that counts is whether or not they announce your name. Besides, whether or not this Starbucks is on campus or not, this is a question for Starbucks, not Gonzaga.
I remember the first day of orientation. Gonzaga really posted this mission statement. We're developing the whole person, and that we're committed to social justice. And I think back to this one time I was in one of my classes, and we were talking about racism. And there's one student who turns to me and says, "I feel like the best way to get rid of racism is obviously just to ignore it." Nah. And I remember seeing the professor sit there, silent, not saying anything. Is that who we are as an institution? That's not it.
First off, this isn't a where were you when question. Second, your story sucks. Without knowing why this conversation was going on, it's hard to address this point. Look, the student was in favor of ending racism. Be happy about that instead of degrading an entire university because said student has an approach that you disagree with. By the way, Morgan Freeman agrees with that other kid.
How are we going to get rid of racism until... Stop talking about it.
Where were you when I was asked, no, where are you really from?
I still don't understand this non-point. It's not up to the school to police speech or thought, at least not to the extent that you dictatorially want.
Where were you when I was struggling in my engineering classes and I was told maybe I don't belong?
Again, they were focusing on real issues. Do you have any idea how many males get told the same thing? Maybe your critics were right. Did you ever consider that? Or are you so programmed by the victimhood mentality cult that your struggles can possibly be due to this being the wrong field for you, that you can only process the possibility that whomever said that to you hates women and or blacks? If this is how you're responding to criticism, then maybe engineering really isn't for you.
Where were you when my first month here, my professor told me I could not go home to celebrate a Muslim holiday with my family?
They were probably supporting the instructor. This is another case where more details are needed, but I'm willing to bet that this is for grading purposes. Most teachers give a shit about how often you're in class, and in many cases, that can be out of their hands. If you're going to be a college student, then you need to commit to it. The separate thing is made clear in your syllabus.
Where were you when I was told that I couldn't get the day off because I was not an international student?
Okay, so this is basically the same question, but with a little more to cover. Now, I don't personally know the perks of being an international student, and it could be possible that there are differences depending on the school. What I can say is this. You're an American based off of what you have said. There is no logical reason why you, as an American, should get international benefits in an American school. I can also say that you're nothing special. Could you imagine a Jewish student wanting to take time off for Hanukkah, free from schoolwork or other grading penalties? There's no way that would fly, nor should it. Stop demanding more privileges.
When there were students writing messages of love on this campus after a day with messages of hate, they were met with students speeding from their dorms, yelling profanity, and not feeling welcomed on this campus.
Dude, that's not even a question. You deserve no response.
Where were you when my support system was stripped beneath my feet because she didn't feel like she belonged here at Gonzaga?
Why is this any of their concern? Maybe your support was right and had to do what was best for her. Also, what makes you so sure that one of these people that you're dogging on didn't try to keep her around? They don't own her. She's a free, independent human being.
Where were you when faculty of color continued to come and go, making me question whether I deserve a spot at the table, because the statistics tell me I don't?
Alright, look, I have been attending and or working at the same college for more than 13 years. Faculty come and go all the time, and for various reasons. This isn't exclusively for those of color, by the way. And again, how do you know that those you're dogging didn't try to convince them to stay? Also, you're quite the shallow, selfish bitch if you think that you deserve anything. Work for it. It will take some hard work, but the concept is quite simple.
Where were you when I was lost?
Well, again? Stop asking questions. Damn, you really are selfish, aren't you? They aren't your compass. Grow up.
Where were you when I needed you most?
Shut up. Fuck, you're annoying.
Where are you now?
Whoever worked on this video should have cut some of her shit out and made some of the other people ask better questions. Or any questions for the guy who came before her. They are doing their jobs, which is tending to real issues. They are not responsible for your snowflake emotions. They are not a comfort blanket. They are not boobs. Grow up. Finally, it's over. Now, just like with the beginning, I'm going to cut out the end, which is some fuckwit reading a pre-written pile of garbage that basically sums up this video's objective, which is, this kind of shit validates President Trump's victory. Fuck off, Junior.